Okay, thank you, Leo. Like what I say, I am really interested in visual culture of Hong Kong, and it's so great that I can share one of my ongoing project relating to Neon Site. So I hope that my sharing, my talk that can inspire you and let you know more about Neon Site. I think the current situation of the Neon Site is decreasing. Probably you have heard that, you may know that. So I think this project actually was started in 2015. So in the past 5 years, we have been documenting the current existing Neon site. So let me share my screen to all of you. Okay, we good? So now everyone can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So so I do like this topic, archiving memory neon lights in Hong Kong. So I think that topic is really inspiring. So I think that this topic actually may lead to an open question: why we need to archive memory and why memory is important, and how it relates to our community and our collective memory. I think before I prepare this PowerPoint or sharing, so I think it would be good to have an open question. Of course, I don't have an answer to you. Probably you may have your own answer, but I think it would be good that through this sharing, I think would be nice that to inspire everyone to think about this questions. So in this talk, I like to first share my memory, my childhood memory toward Neon Site. And the second half, I will share my ongoing project of Neon Site documentation to you. So I hope that this sharing, this talk can give you some idea about the current situation of Hong Kong Neon Site. And Leo has already mentioned that we will have a Q&A sections. So I'm looking forward to hearing more questions from you, and then we can have a nice talk. And would be good to have share your thought to us. So at the very beginning, I just want to give you a little background about me. So if you look at these pictures, this is me. So don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to tell you I'm a violinist. So I just practice, a couple classes. So I'm not a professional violinist. So, but I would like to tell you that I grew up in Fire Inn Street when I was a kid. So this is the only pictures I have that I can share the exterior of Fire Inn Street from my home. So the pictures itself doesn't show you what exactly happened at night. So that's why I would like to share my memory to you. There were 2, 3 to 4 story high neon sign erected right in front of my flat. So when the dawn is coming, the neon lights actually would turn on automatically. So you could see that because you can see that my flat actually has a big window. So the neon light could easily go through and direct reach my flat. And you could imagine the exterior of my flat has suddenly turned into a disco atmosphere. And the space was full of attractive colors. So that is one of my childhood memory to neon lights. So for those who may not know where Fire Inn Street is, it is situated in a peripheral of Mong Kok, and that is a residential area where all the buildings were built in 60. And Mong Kok is a place where has been claimed as a high density living area in Hong Kong. So these pictures of Fine Street I took at night recently, and it is very long street, intersect with 5 to 6 streets. Now none of neon signs that you can see in the street. Fine Street now turned very dark. It is not an unusual case. This is happening all around in Hong Kong. So it ends up that Hong Kong cityscape has become monotone and boring to me. It's no longer lively at all. So here's the old pictures of Fine Street I found in the internet. You can see there was some neon sign in the center of the pictures. Although it is a pity to see a lot of neon sign disappearing recently in Hong Kong, it didn't really draw my attention when I was a kid. On the contrary, I was not happy about my childhood experience living close to the street. It's because my flat was in the second floor. Then you could imagine how noisy if street hawkers were yelling and how chaotic the street was, whenever you went out. Therefore, unlike what I'm doing now, I had a bad impression towards the street culture in the past. Until I saw a Japanese anime called Ghost in the Shell. I don't know whether you have seen this film before, but this film definitely gave me an entire different view of Hong Kong cityscape. This movie was released in 1995. I'm not a big fan of Japanese anime, but I found that I was well connected with the film scenery, where it is exactly where I live in Fine Street that I was unhappy about it in the past. But the film was depicting a city in an alternative way in which is half familiar and half unfamiliar to me. I was particularly amazed by those chaotic and miserable signboards erected from the buildings, like a living plants, extensively growing in a creepy forest. It gave me a lot of imagination that I haven't ever thought about it. So here you can see a different types of signboards and almost fully cover up the facade of the buildings. It definitely gives me a stunning visual impact. You may probably think that the visual image a bit dramatic. However, it would be highly convincing when you were in Mongkok between 90 or 80s. So let me show you an amazing part of this movie clip so that you have some ideas. So hang on a second. Let me share my screen to you. So this, can you see this screen now? Oops. Can you see? Can you see it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we can stop here. So I think this animate when I was a teenager, when I look at this anime, I think I was totally impressed by the scenery the Japanese film director captured in a different way of Hong Kong cityscape. I have never thought about that. Hong Kong people, they find those street view not very attractive, but from the Japanese film director, they have a different view to look at our street. And it's turned out become a very well-known blockbusting film as an ultimate project. So I realized that Hong Kong's sideboard, Hong Kong back alley could be something very interesting topics. So since then, I realized that we definitely need to revisit or we see our city, what we should deserve or what we should preserve, and for what we have. So let's stop here, and then we can go back to my screen. So like what I say, since then, I find that Hong Kong has something like street and sideboards that no one has not been interested before. It was taken into account by the foreigner's eyes. Why is that? I start to realize that Hong Kong got something Hong Kong people should treasure, like the unique visual culture of the streets. So who kills Leon Side? There's a number of reasons that make Leon Side disappearing rapidly. Based on my past observation, there's a couple of reasons. I try to briefly highlight some of them here. First, Leon Side are declining rapidly from the street of Hong Kong due to a large-scale sideboard demolitions that were initiated by the buildings department in 2010. The department has been taking tough action against unauthorized sideboards, issuing mandatory removal orders to the shop owners. there are strengthened guidelines on the size, projection, and distance between sideboards, which apply to old and news. If a sideboard is found violating the necessary requirements, the building departments will issue a removal order to the shop owners. And second, the new emerging of LED. So you could see that a lot of shop sign has been changed to LED. Why? Because in the interview, we interviewed the shop owners. They told us that LED is cheaper, more durable, and more colorful. And that's why they changed their neon sign into LED. So this is also one of the major issues why neon sign is dramatically declining. And as you look at this example, I took these pictures in Sai Kung seafood, one of the seafood restaurants. And in the past, you can see that the fish actually was made in a neon sign. And you could imagine the tail of the fish actually has been animated. So if you see this neon sign at night, so you can see the tail actually is flashing like a lively fish in the air. But when they change to LED light or LED, so it gives you a totally different impressions. And it's all become a dotted line. It's not a solid line. So the whole idea, the whole impression, the visual impression give you a totally different experience. And of course, another major reason is people say that neon sign business is seen as a sunset industry. And it is so true because many neon sign master has been retired. And at the same time, young people find it difficult to pick up the skills. And according to Master Wen, you can see in the pictures, and others neon sign master in the interview, and they told us that it almost take about 3 to 5 years to master the skills of neon tips bending or treating. So I tried that before, but it's true. It's really hard to make it properly, and it's really easy broken because neon tube is made by glass. It is so fragile, and when you do it, it's really hot. So based on above main reason, that's why the neon sign market is shrinking. So people keep asking me about what do neon sign relate to our community or our societies. So why we need to conserve the visual culture of neon signs, and why you are so concerned about the demolitions of neon signs. So different people have different perspective indeed. I treasure them because they are not only a part of our visual cultures, but to me, they also play as a visible object that represent and contextualize the human activities of the street. And they enrich the meaning of the space. More importantly, neon sign is one of the vehicles that help people attach emotional or feeling to the place throughout a daily basis. So for example, here you can see Australia dairy company. Dairy company actually is a cha chan teng. They serve very delicious breakfast, all-day breakfast. And the side on the left, and another side on the right is Matmangay Noodle Shop. So both unique shape of neon sign has been erected for several decades in the community. So all of them were already become a landmark of the community in Jordan. So unfortunately, both beautiful neon signs were taken down in February and October 2018, respectively. With the day of neon sign demolitions, many local news have also featured it. Inhabitants in the community expressed that it was a pity that the neon sign was dismantled. And it made me think that why they were upset toward demolitions of neon sign. So a little story would like to share with you. One day I went to the street, exactly the location the sign was demolished. So in the afternoon, I went for my lunch. So I saw that a worker actually, they are doing, neon sign dismantling. So I came to him and asked, can I keep at least one piece of neon sign for my, project? At least I want to keep it. But the worker actually impolitely replied me, it's none of my business when neon signs are demolished. So this is none of my business. So I'm not allowed you to take my piece. So of course I understand they have the responsibility to remove the neon sign. So, but I was so sad that I witnessed this. The neon sign was taken down and cut it into a small piece and send it to landfill. So this is so sad that I cannot keep it. And I feel that I has a big responsibility to document our neon sign. Is one day if there's no more neon sign in the street, so probably the visual culture has been disappearing. So actually, what we lost is not just a piece of neon sign or a piece of signboards. What we lost actually the meaning of the place or the meanings of the communities. So so Yu-Fu Turant is a humanistic geographer. In the first chapter of his famous book, Space and Place, he raised a very key question: what is place? To Turant, the place is the center space of human emotional values. Throughout the books, Turant emphasized the human experience, or how people make sense of space and place through various experiences such as touch, feeling, and thoughts, as well as the way in which the people interpret the meanings of the space and place. To further elaborate, according to Sheng and Oram and Parsons, they said that the main purpose provided by the function, use, and the existing of place is for people to assign it meaning. It's really funny. Such meaning include memories about the place, whether they are first-time experience, oral history narrated by inhabitants, or historical accounts in literatures. The meaning of a place can also originate from personal feelings and experience. And go back to the question, why we were upset towards the disappearance of neon sign. This statement actually can help explain that it is because people regularly become emotionally attached to. They establish emotional connections with particular place and things, such as signboard or neon sign. So therefore, when signboards or neon sign are demolished, we feel something lost, or we feel as if a missing piece of our memory to the community. If we look at it in a holistic view, I realize that neon sign can be a visual anchors that we embed our feeling, our memory, and our visual experience into it. So, and as you can see here, so the empty street now, so two iconic neon signs were demolished. So, so the street is no longer interesting at all. It's like an ordinary street. So, so this is another visual impact. I saw this art piece. So this photography photographer by the Keith McGregor. So Keith McGregor was a photographer. He shot a lot of Hong Kong street since 1969. Now he is 75 years old, but for the past 15 years, he keep, you know, coming to Hong Kong and record streetscape of Hong Kong. So if you look at this image, I feel that I really impressed. Of course, this is not true. This is not genuine. You could not find a place like that. But I think from a foreign perspective, they find that Hong Kong street is full of neon sign. It's very vibrant and very energetic. So you can see that the McGregor actually superimpose a different layer or different neon sign and superimpose one another and try to depict pictures of full of light. So this is his impression to Hong Kong. So I also find that this is make me memorize the my childrenhood Hong Kong cityscape. You could find a lot of neon sign in the street. But of course, nowadays, you you only find one or none of the neon sign in the street now. So it's so sad that our city actually become really silent. Of course, neon sign could be used to project the prosperity of the city, right? Because this is sort of a visual form or visual object. So if you take down all the visual object, so the street actually you could not see the energetic of the street. So this is so sad to see it. And neon sign actually perform more than that. Of course, they exist in the street and they tell the story about the street. So this is also important and why we care about the neon sign, because when you not go into the street, you just look from outside and you can see a lot of neon sign cascading one another. And you more likely receive a lot of information about this street. And you can see a lot of human activity through the form of neon sign. But apart from that, neon sign could projecting or symbolize another issue, for example, social political issue. So this two envy I would like to show you to both of them actually manipulate or make good use of neon sign to project, to convey a different message to the audience. And they was, filmed in mid-80s. I think is very important and very interesting example. So the first one I'm going to show you David Bowie. I don't know whether you know him. So it's of course it's an international singer and very famous in. He was born in UK, but I think it's very fashionable icon. So in 1983, he went to Hong Kong and he shot an MV in Hong Kong. So at the very beginning of the MV, and he showed or features a lot of Hong Kong street and a lot of neon sign. And let's take a look at it. Okay, let's turn back to. So you can see that through the music video, actually you more likely you feel that in 1980s in Hong Kong actually is a totally different, view, and throughout the MV actually you can feel that Hong Kong full of consumption, and you can see a lot of luxury goods and people doing shopping, and because the MV title called Factions, definitely David Bowie would like to borrow a place like Hong Kong, the whole city actually um, embrace a lot of consumption activity at night. So through the lens of MV, actually David Bowie would like to capture a different business, for example, like for example, restaurant and jewelry shop and a lot of entertainments. You feel that people really happy about living in this city, and people were busy in enjoy their life. So this is the example. David Bowie would like to borrow a series of neon light to symbolize the prosperity of Hong Kong. So, but 4 years after, I find another MV actually from a local famous band called達明一派. So this is it. Also, this movie also gives you a different view, and although they use the same motif like Neon Sign, but Neon Sign they use and they project a different feeling, because this MV talking about the future for Hong Kong and what will be look like when Hong Kong will be hand over to China. So the story or the music try to project this kind of message to the audience. So let's take a look at this video. Okay. Okay. Very enjoy this MV, and you can see that is at least to me is the MV actually gave me a really different feeling. As you can see, this MV they use Leon Sai as a metaphor to symbolize the futures of Hong Kong, but they use a different way of using Leon Sai. You can see here, if you look at the MV, you couldn't find any fixed shot of Leon Sai. Is all the way is blurred, and it's really uncertainty. It's give you a feeling of anxiety. And if you look at two singers, and if you pay attention enough, they actually wear sunglasses. So how are people wearing sunglasses at night? So I think it's also a symbolic meaning, because we couldn't see futures, and it's full of metaphor you could find from this MV. So I find that Leon-Sai actually is a vehicle, is a neutral media, and you can borrow it into projecting how you can express your uncertainty to the futures of Hong Kong. So let's go back to the sharing my slide. So again, I think two, sort of MV give you a totally different feeling by using the same motif or visual motif to give you Hong Kong is a consumption society. At the same time, when Hong Kong close to the handover in 1997, and the MV also give you a feeling of uncertainty. So, so I think that's all my memory I like to share with you. So, and the first half, I already shared my feeling, my memory to the Lee On-sai. And second half, I really, focus on the photo documenting of the Lee On-sai when the project started in 2015. So people ask me when or how you come up with this project. Actually, I was invited to be a tour guide by M Plus Museum in 2014. So because they find me because they thought that I probably more specialized in visual communication. I think yes, but at that time I'm not so interested or keen into study Lee On-sai until the activity. So so you can see that the tour actually really attract a lot of Hong Kong citizens. They join the tours. So we took the bus. So and the bus actually is for tourists. And the bus actually starts from the Tsim Sha Tsui and went all the way to Yau Ma Tei and went to the Hong Kong Island, Wan Chai, and all the places. So I find it really interesting when I closely almost touch the Lee On-sai. So I feel the impression, I feel the energy, I feel the colors. So so after that, I thought that when the tour end up is just a tourist tour, so nothing we can do. After the bus tour, I thought that I think I need to do something for Lee On-sai because Lee On-sai actually so unique in Hong Kong and so they are like a dangerous animal. We definitely need to rescue them because day by day you probably heard that a lot of Lee On-sai has been taken down. So if we not really do something, probably one day we don't know what exactly Lee On-sai look like. So that's why it triggered me to take action and to record as many Lee On-sai as possible. But I'm not the one that do that. So when I go through a different literatures, I find one book is really interesting. The book actually talking about Hong Kong, the street of Hong Kong, called Hong Kong. So this book actually was written by a Japanese urban sociologist called Ohashi Kenichi. So Professor Ohashi actually he taught urban in Chinese university. So so why a Japanese scholar, they are so keen to study Hong Kong cultures. So, and one of the images really impressed me. So Ohashi actually record a lot of signboards and he didn't really photo take it. He just draw it. He just hand draw all the signage or signboards in different types or different business. I find it is fascinating. And if Japanese scholar can do it, Hong Kong people can do it, I can do it. So that's why it's made me to start or kick off this project. So so like what I mentioned, the project actually was starting in 2015. So if you can look at Hong Kong divided into 18 districts. So how could I go to a different district and document all the signage? So that's why I try to start in the first phase. So because PolyU is situated in Tsim Sha Tsui, and that's why our project kick off in this area. So we walk every single street from Tsim Sha Tsui, Jordan, Yau Ma Tei, Mong Kok, all the way to Prince Edward. So these 5 districts in the first phase we focus on. But of course, I like what I say, I could not do everything. That's why I recruit student helper. So a team of 6 to 8 students and research assistant and faculty help me to document the Leon site. So before that, because we have not much resources, so that's why we use technologies. So before we really went out to photo captures every single Leon site, we definitely, first thing we need to know their exact location. So that's why we use Google Street. So we just use our computer to walk through every street through Google Street. And we use a dot line, red dot to locate exactly the positions in the map. So whenever we went out, we brought this map with us, and then we take pictures. So that's why you can see that this just one of the map we use, but you can see that so most of through the the dot, the distribution, and we can centralize, or we can focus on not all the street, but just focus on the main street where a lot of Leon site there, and then we can primarily went there and take pictures. But of course, other street we need to visit, and we need to double check in case there's a new shop there, and even Google Street not fast enough to update it. So this is our team. So 2 pictures you can see here. So Leon site actually has 2 perspectives or 2 status. One is at night, and the other one is day-night. So because they express a different visual expressions, so that's why we have to went there at night and also daytime. So we capture the location, we capture the color, we capture the size, business, types of business, so and so forth. So that's why we prepare a very long list of the notes. And because we have a full team, we have 6 to 8 students or research assistant help to photo document. That's why I have to have a full guideline for them to take the pictures. So this is the guideline. Whenever they went out, they have to follow this guideline so that every student, they can capture the same size of Leon site or same angle of Leon site. And more important, I ask them not just focus or close up of the Leon site, they also need to capture the environment, because the Leon site also have a close relationship with another Leon site or to the space of the street. So that's why we have to capture a different distance or different angles.
Sure. Sorry for interrupting you. I think the time is about, maybe you wrap up in 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I have to speed up. So that's why you can see that this is the worksheet we develop. Make sure that every student can follow the same patterns. And this is the hand sketch that I inspired from the, the Japanese urban socialists. So I think hand drawing is really useful, because when you draw, you really focus on the detail of the Leon site. So a different location, and you can study the relation between the Leon site and the architecture or the buildings. And also you can also study the aesthetics patterns or the patterns of the borders of the Leon site. So this is a different visual forms. And then we input into the Excel. Of course, the Excel really helpful if you sort by the business and then you want to check the style, the visual style of the Leon site, maybe you could find a similarity or differences. And then you come up with a more fine digital version of the map so that you can clearly locate exact location of the Leon in the map. And of course, because we capture a lot of pictures, so it really helped us to go further to find out more interesting Leon site. So based on a different category, for example, symbol, Western restaurant versus Chinese restaurant, what's the differences? What's the main similarity? And then you will come up this very visual impact to you if you compare same palm shop in a different location. You probably will give you a very big impact. So this is one of the example. We sort out a different category or different title by regrouping them together. And then we come up with some sort of typology of Leon sites. So I not go detail in each types of site. I focus on horizontal site or projecting vertical site. And in each vertical or horizontal site, they have a different composition, but mainly they need to focus the name of the shop. And also they need to identify the types of the business. So for the small types or small size of text, actually for the supplements of information for the company. This is the examples, projecting vertical Leon sign, horizontal Leon sign, you could see. So most of them were already dismantled. It is so sad to see it. And like what I say, they have a different, they consider a different view. So that's why they design for their sign for different purpose. So you could see the larger size for people from a long viewing distance, and the smaller size for the people was closely to the restaurant. And they also use a different types of structure of the characters. So there's a single stroke, outline stroke, single inline, multi inline, and parallel inline. They serve a different purpose for different viewing distance. So I'm not going to go detail, and you can see a lot of different symbol actually to tell you they specialize. Maybe they sell different service, they sell different goods for you. So it's really easy to identify from a distance. So probably I need to move fast, and also we study the visual form of each Leon sign. So it's really easy for us to compare one another. The patterns, and of course because of those findings. So in 1918, I wrote a book about Leon sign. In the first edition in Chinese, but we work hard for publish English version. I think one more year we will have an English version of this book. So this is give you some example of the pages. And we also built the Hong Kong Leon archive. So this is a beta version. So I'm not going to show you because a lot of bugs we need to fix, but I tell you that we have a different platform for the audience to access our database. And we also have a different exhibitions to tell the audience the Chinese, Leon size or Chinese culture. So this exhibition was held in Japan, Tokyo, or Osaka, sorry. So we also conduct a workshop for the student, a design student, to develop a Chinese character. And this is another exhibitions. Okay. So I think, yeah, that's all. I hope that I meet the time. If you have any question, you feel free to access our website, infodesignlab.org. So apart from Leon side, we also have a lot of design-related projects. And if you interest our photograph, our project, feel free to scan the QR code here. So we have an Instagram, we have a Facebook, we regularly update our activity. And if you want to contact me, you can send me an email. So thank you very much. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you for the call. So yeah, I'm sorry that like the presentation have to be cut short. Like,
yeah.
So, but actually, the audience have a lot of questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have to apologize that maybe we don't have time to go through all of this. But I will organize them into several categories. So I think the first question for you is that like we are all curious about how the industry of the neon sign operates. Like for example, who was the major labor contributing to that, and also how the decline of this industry is related to the external maybe external issues of the whole society in Hong Kong, and also or maybe like some environmental issues as well, because the neon sign it made of glass, and actually is, I think one of the audience said that it uses mercury, so actually it's not really environmental friendly. So I think maybe can you tell us that like how's that industry really operates, and also would that all these kind of problems and issues actually contributing to its decline?
Okay, thank you. It's not just one question, right? It's multiple questions. I think it's good. They're very interesting questions. So when we actually interview Leon Sign Master, actually they were trained, of course, in 1960s. Most of them actually they came from mainland China. And a lot of good neon sign master, actually, they came from Shanghai. And that's why they built their neon sign manufacturing in Hong Kong around 1950 to 1960. And they bought not just the aesthetic, they also bought technology and equipment. And they train up the local neon sign trainee, and that's why because you could imagine in 1960 or 1950, it's really difficult to find job in the society. That's why in the traditional manufacturing, they hire a lot of teenager to pass the knowledge to them, and then of course they work together like a family. So that's why they live in the manufacturing. So like a family members. So I think would be good to. That's why it's a apprenticeship. You may call master. Actually, they won't directly teach you every day. So you have to observe and you have to practice off the works. So this is the system, the common system in the traditional manufacturing, and of course they build up their manufacturing, maybe a family business. Of course they also like a big company. There's a different scale, so it really depends. And another question about the mercury. Of course, mercury is a really important substance. So I also find that is a dangerous substance. But when we went to the factory, actually they are professionally handle this issue, and of course you could say that this is not environmental friendly. But at that moment, at that years, you won't consider that, because in the old day they won't have this sense of protection, or they don't have sense of stay away of this harmful substance, because they all concern is about living. So that's why they don't mind. Of course, they have some container to protect them, and they use a special equipment to insert mercury into the tube. So yeah, I'm not Leon master. I don't know how the tricks to do it, but I think is you like what I say before, because they all retired and they still survive. I think it's okay for them to manage this harmful substance.
Thank you. So speaking of the decline of this industry, as you said that you've been organizing workshops, and also there are some other workshops to introduce this kind of skills, or the to the outsiders, to the public audience. So how would you think, like, would that help to revitalize the industry, or like what do you think about the future of it?
Yeah, of course, what we can do, we like to promote, we like to deliver the visual culture of Leon Sai. And we like to, pass the message, especially not just craftsmanship, because craftsmanship is so difficult to pick up. But we try to do it another way. We try to tell the story about the Leon Sai in Hong Kong. So we try to simplify the step of bending the Leon tube. So so I think young people, they like it because they haven't seen that, and because when they were born, maybe only a few Leon Sai were left in the street, so they may not have chance to get closer to look at those shining, brightening objects. So I think for them it's really interesting, or for them it's really curious to study or to know more that. So that's why we introduce a different activity. We hope that they can further understand this visual culture. Hong Kong has been, uh, uh, has been the peak of the Leon Sai in the old day. And of course, go back to the one of the question. So I don't think we can revitalize the industry, because, like what I said, the industry is decreasing, and because the market, they don't need that, because the LED already almost replaced this technology. So the shop owner, they prefer to use LED. But I would see that the Leon Sai become an object or a visual metaphor to consume Hong Kong culture. So that's why you can see Leon Sai not outdoor or external space, but on the contrast, you can see a lot of Leon Sai inside the space, or inside the shopping mall, for example. So I think it's a great opportunity to sustain a few Leon Master. They still working for it. So I could see that I try to bring these two parties close to each other, see how if young people, they like to pick up, of course they would find the Leon master to learn from them. So I think it's not easy, because like what I say, if you pick up a very basic skills, it spend 2 to 3 years full time. So for young people, they may say, I may study another degree. Why spend 2 to 3 years to follow a master? And the marketing is shrinking. So when you have a skill, but you couldn't find a job. So this is the reality. Yeah.
Thank you, and and it's really sad to hear that. Yeah. So, and also we would like to ask you a bit more about the symbols that the neon signs give us, actually. So when we talk about the neon signs, like some often like we refer that to like a good old days, like in Hong Kong in the past, like in the 80s and 90s. So do you think if that neon signs actually is a symbol for some particular generations of Hong Kong people, or like some particular period of time in Hong Kong, instead of like the Hong Kong culture as a whole?
I think yeah, of course, different generation they have different collective memory. So, for example, I heard that middle age they like to sing, you know, under the Lion Rock, right? From the RTHK, they think that this is a Hong Kong spirit, and they like to sing this song. But for the young people or even younger, they don't have connection, and they don't see it, and they don't. I think it's okay, is reasonable, because if they don't have connection or cultural connection, so they don't have feeling, they don't get connected. I think it's still okay. But Leon Sai, of course, you may say that Leon Sai belong to a certain period. Like, for example, in the peak of Hong Kong economy, of course, the Leon Sai reflect the economy at some point. And in 1980 or 1919 is the peak of the Hong Kong economy. So that is really easy. It's part of our life in when you were, in that period. So of course you will have heavy or close connection with the streetscapes, and of course the young people, they have a different thinking, or they could have a different perspective. So I think it's not disconnected, but I think as a whole, I think they divide into a different module or different piece, and they are not related one another. They closely relate to one another. So and they belong a family. So I don't think it's separate. So even though the young people, they may not have such strong feeling or emotional attached to the Leon Sai, but I think they turn into a different feeling. Like what I said, I think they will treat Leon Sai as one of the Hong Kong culture. So they like to consume it. They find it look good. This is represent our cultures. So I think it's different level of understanding or feelings.
Yeah, and also I would like to follow up on that. So as we have seen the videos that you have shown us, like even some foreigners or Japanese anime also, and also David Bowie, like Westerners, like each of them have different image, or I mean impression on the neon signs in Hong Kong. So actually, do you think if but I mean well, but it seems that like people in Hong Kong didn't really realize to preserve it until like very recently. So do you think if that's like the importance, the cultural significance of the neon signs in Hong Kong was actually like more like a like a notion imported from the foreign, or like from the foreigners' eyes, instead of like our own appreciation from the local?
Hong Kong is a strange place. Sometimes because, of course, of the origin of the history, because Hong Kong culture, actually, people say that Hong Kong culture is a hybrid cultures. So we are not really Western, or we are not really Eastern or Oriented, right? So at the same time, we can, cope with both, right? So that's why we are not really reject any Western culture, or we are not really dislike Oriental cultures. We are sort of absorb two different sources. So this is our background. And of course, when and how we find that, oh, now we are no longer Western, or we are no longer Eastern or Oriental, but when we realize we are Hong Kong, we are Hong Kong culture, we need to establish and see ourselves not from China, we are Hong Kong people, right? So I think streetscape to me is a visible scenery, or visible that everyone can see it. So whenever you go out to the street, so the street itself already represent the Hong Kong culture. Why? Because like what I said before, street actually accommodate human activity, a place that everyone can contribute. So that's why you will see that I only just show two examples, but if you have seen Hong Kong movie, Hong Kong film, so one of the genre is triad society, or triad or gangs fighting in the street, right? So this is a very typical scene. If you're interested in a gangs fighting Hong Kong movie series. So one of the backdrop you could see that you could easily find that must have a Leon Sai as a backdrop. So people, gangster fighting, chasing in the street, and then you will see Leon Sai were used to project a miserable atmosphere. So that's why you will see Wong Kar-wai, a famous Hong Kong film director, and Wong Kar-wai is the one that really keen to use neon light or different color of neon light to represent the modern people living in the city. So he well used the metaphor to express loneliness of the people living in the modern city. So again, so that's why neon sign in the street can be used fully to symbolize a different meanings. So that's why I think Hong Kong movie is one of the output that you can enjoy, that you can see a lot of neon sign there. Yeah. I don't know whether I answer you.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Thank you. And actually, an audience want to follow up that, like how, like, when we talk about the collective memories of the Hong Kong people over time, and of course, like we have to just talk about that, like there are some generational differences among them, and also how about for those minorities, like the migrants, refugees, or like South Asian people? Do you think yeah, how, like, are they included in it?
So what do you mean? You mean the Leon sign relate to other group of people? You mean?
Yeah.
I think this is also an interesting question. When I study Leon Sai in 1980 to 1990, you will see that Leon Sai, you could find a lot of Japanese texts, and they some sign actually in the tourism area, they show three languages. So one is Chinese, and the other one is English, and the third one is Japanese text. And then you will realize that, oh, this area actually some Japanese people, they will go there and consume the area, or they do some entertainment there. So for example, sauna. So definitely you will find sauna in that period. So you can find the Japanese text in sauna Leonside. So but of course nowadays Korean culture is become very popular, right? So definitely you will find Korean text in some signage. Yeah. So I think it really the sideboard or neon sign really close to the pop culture. You would say that. Of course, not all the sign have 3 languages, but I feel very few neon sign has 3 languages.
Thank you. So well, actually, that's my own questions. So of course, like as I said, like the neon signs has a lot of, it's so meaningful to the collective memories of Hong Kong people, and also it has its own symbols. So actually, I it's my own puzzle, like because in the beginning you mentioned that like neon signs can mean like chaotic and mysterious, right? In maybe perhaps like in the anime, but also on the other hand, like it symbolizes the prosperity of the city, as we've seen in the movies. So actually, how are these symbols like playing around with each other? And yeah, because like, well, the neon signs are just those, right? And how do we interpret them or understand in the different forms of symbols?
So I think it really depends on how you see it. Of course, different people see neon sign differently, and different artists, film directors, poem and authors. I think neon sign is an object symbolize modernizations, and you won't find neon sign in the remote village. And because neon sign actually, like what I say, represent human activity. So when you look at neon sign, you find that although you go to the unknown city or unknown village or unknown place, if you saw or you see a neon sign in the street, you find, oh, there's some restaurant or there's something happened there. Let's check it out. So I think neon actually can attract people, and of course this is the basic function of neons, because it's like an advertisement, right? The purpose, the function of advertisement to show you the direction, to show you the content, what I'm selling. But because on the other hand, because neon sign, the light is so unique, and because sometimes it's like a human feeling, because sometimes you will find some neon tube are broken and they are not connected, they are dim. So it's like a bit of the city. So you will see a lot of people, they have a very abstract thinking towards neon sign. So so that's why it can inspire your imagination. So no matter you want to use neon sign to present cyberpunk, for example. So because neon sign, if you turn down the light a bit, so it gives you a miserable feeling. But if you turn it bright, you will see prosperity feeling. So I think is to me is they have a flexibility. They have a wide range of possibility that you can use and to convey your message to the audience. And the other thing, because the Leon tube is made by human, right? It's not like LED, it's generated by the computer, right? So when you look at the Leon tube, you will find that a master actually behind the Leon, they use the high skill to bend the tube into a form of symbol or a form of characters. So that definitely it involves a high skill of craftsmanship. So that's why we treasure it, because it's not made by machine, but it's made by a human hand. So it's sort of a really human touch to me. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm sorry again that we couldn't go through all the questions, and so I suggest I will recommend the audience to read his book and also go on the website and check it out. Yeah. So I'll pass the floor to Professor Shin.
Well, thank you very much, Justin. I just want to say thank you to Justin, who helps moderate tonight's event. And I also want to thank the other two student helpers that the audience can't see, Michelle and Ryan, for helping out. And I also want to thank all the supporting units at UBC, the Department of Asian Studies, the Department of History, the Center for Chinese Research, Asian Library, the Interdisciplinary Histories Research Cluster. Professor Kwok, you can see how many units are interested in your talk. And of course, I like to reserve our most sincere thank to Professor Kwok. This is fascinating stuff. I mean, of course, David Bowie, right? And Diamond Red Pie, of course. Who can say no to them? And so that's excellent. And I can also see from the chat area that there are so many questions for you. So this also speaks to how much interest, even here in Canada and perhaps somewhere elsewhere in North America as well. I'm sure there's still lots of questions that some of our audiences have. And so for those who would like to stay behind for about 5-10 minutes, I think Professor Kwok can stay for another 5-10 minutes. I hope so.
Okay, yeah.
For those who would like to stay behind, I would ask you to turn on your camera. That would be, I'm trying to replicate sort of what we normally do at the end of an in-person talk, right? We will have people coming up to the speaker to chat. And so it's very hard to do it online. So, but anyway, if you are interested in linger for another 5-10 minutes to talk to Professor Kwok, please stay behind and we'll try to do it in a meaningful way. But of course, we cannot carry on for too long. There's a limit of how much we can do. But I just want to thank everyone for coming to join us today. It was much appreciated. I just have one final question for Professor Kwok. So this database, is accessible to anyone?
Yeah. But because the Leon Tsai archive, actually we are still developing, and it's like 70% complete. But like what I said, that the website actually is not really stable. Sometimes we find a lot of bugs. So that's why we're not going to, roll out yet. So until we fix all the bugs. So, but we definitely will let all you know if you follow our, like a commercial. You follow
please do. We do a lot of commercials here. Go ahead.
Yeah, Facebook, definitely we will announce if we have fix all the bugs. That definitely we will announce in our Facebook. So please keep follow it.
Okay. So thank you very much. And if you can all join me in thanking Professor Kwok, you can do the hand reactions, or you can write on the chat area. Do any way you want, or you can turn on your audio if you're ready to clap for Professor Kwok as well. So.